going to continue with studying our verifying identities. And so if you look up here, we're going to look at a couple today, and then you're going to have an assignment. And so if you look up here, we have sine of beta over 1 minus cosine of beta equals cosecant of beta plus cotangent of beta. So if you remember from verifying identities, you can only work down one side of the equation. Okay? So what side do you want to work down? I'd work down the left side. Okay? And so we're going to work down the left side. We need to somehow get it to equal cosecant plus cotangent. So the first thing I would probably do on the left side is I would multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. So I would we're going to have trouble with the pen today, I can already see. I would multiply the top by 1 plus cosine of beta and the bottom by 1 plus cosine of beta. Okay? All right, so on the top, you're going to end up having sine of beta times 1 plus cosine beta. On the bottom, you're going to have 1 minus cosine squared beta. Now remember, we get that because they're conjugates, so all you have to multiply are the first and the last. So that's going to equal cosecant plus cotangent. Now I noticed some of you yesterday were actually working down both sides, and remember we talked about that. You can't do that. But what you can do is make some mental notes to yourself. An example of a mental note you could make is you could say, oh, well, I know that cosecant is 1 over sine. And I know that cotangent is cosine over sine. Okay? And so what you could do is you could write that, and then that would remind yourself, once I get this left side to equal that, I know that I'm going to be done. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at our next step on the left side. What do you think you can do? Make the bottom what? Sine squared. Very good. That's exactly where we're going to go. Oops. Okay, so the top stays sine of beta times 1 plus cosine beta. And the bottom now becomes sine squared. Now just a little tidbit. Another thing from yesterday, somebody asked, well, do you have to write down that right side every step? And the answer is yes, you do. Okay? So how I'm writing this on the board is how you should be writing problems like these. So what do you notice happens? The signs cancel, right? So really, I end up having 1 plus cosine over sine. Now, one of the things we can do is I know from up here that I want to get 1 over sine plus cosine over sine, right? So I'm just going to divide each of these by sine. So really, I have 1 over sine, because that's what's remaining, plus cosine over sine. Well, what do you know 1 over sine equals? Oops. Cosecant. Cosine over sine equals cotangent. And so you have your left to equal your right. And there you go. You're done. And then the question was also asked, do I need to put the box? Yes, every time. Questions? Pretty straightforward. Let's look at one more today. Okay, so now, obviously the most complicated side is going to be the left side, right? So, in order to add those, what do you need? Common denominator. So basically, what am I going to multiply my first fraction by? Sine. Very good. So I'm going to multiply this by the sine of beta. What are you going to multiply the second one by? 1 plus cosine. Now, let's just make a mental note to ourselves. What do I know that cosecant is equivalent to? Yeah, so cosecant is 1 over sine. So really, my mental note to myself would be that once I get to 2 over sine, I'm good to go, because that's what 2 cosecant equals. So let's go ahead and look at my first fraction. What do I get from my first fraction? Sine squared. So I have sine squared of beta plus my second one, I'm going to have 1 plus cosine of beta quantity times 1 plus cosine of beta. All divided by sine times 1 plus cosine. And I want to show that that equals 2 cosecant. So what do you need to do now? FOIL. Yep. FOIL out those. Okay. So FOIL. And I get what here? 1 plus cosine plus cosine plus cosine squared. Okay. All over sine times 1 plus cosine. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is you don't want to multiply that bottom out. Okay, we want to just leave that bottom alone for right now. Okay, so now in the numerator, remember things to look for. A trig function squared to the number 1 or 2 trig functions squared. What do you notice I have here?
2 trig squared.
2 trig squared. What do I know about sine squared and cosine squared?
1.
They equal 1, right? So pretty much I can get rid of those and replace those with a 1. So let's simplify our numerator. I now have 1 plus cosine plus cosine. Well, what's 1 plus 1? 2. Cosine plus cosine. 2 cosine. Oh, just a second. Don't have parentheses there. Silly. Okay. Now you might be seeing already kind of the path we can take. What do you notice in the numerator? You can take out a 2. Let's take out a 2, and so then I have 1 plus cosine, which now we're getting really, really, really close. Now, for sake of room, I'm running out of room up here. So when I cancel these, I know that 2 over sine will actually equal 2 cosecant. So I'm going to jump right now to the answer. Okay. Now hopefully the more we've been doing these are becoming a little easier. Okay. Practice makes things a lot easier. So any questions over that? Okay, this is what I need you to do then. I need you to do page 324, 1 through 9. Now we're going to continue with this section again on Monday. Okay, so we still have a few more left. Okay, so